This home is in Lincoln Park, a neighborhood on the north side of Chicago, roughly 3.5 miles from the city center. On the Zillow Home Value Index, Lincoln Park 60614 is the most expensive zip code within the city of Chicago, with an average single family home priced a little north of $800,000. But there's something strange about Lincoln Park. For those not familiar with the area or with Chicago, you might assume that this is just a regular neighborhood, exclusively with expensive cafes and yoga studios. It does have plenty of that, but Lincoln Park is also known as the home of college kids and 20 somethings. I learned today from Wikipedia that the term Chad actually started in Lincoln Park, if that gives any indication of the reputation of the neighborhood. But how does that make any sense at all, given that Zillow prices a lot of the neighborhood homes at $4+ million? Well, the first clue is this: DePaul University is apparently one of the top 10 largest private universities in America and has around 14,000 students enrolled at the Lincoln Park campus. They supposedly have on campus housing capacity for over 3,000 students. So that explains some of the story. But really, the question is, how did the 24-year-old Chads afford to live in an area where you can't buy a home without inheritance money? And weirdly, the answer is that there are plenty of apartments in the area that are reasonably affordable. Reasonable is a relative term here. A lot of the folks living in this area have roommates, so let me put some pricing in perspective here with that in mind. The most expensive areas in the city as a whole, like West Loop or River North, will run you $3,500 to $4,000 a month for a two-bed. Going very far north to Edgewater or Rogers Park, you can probably get a two-bed for $1,800 to $2,000 a month. Lincoln Park, though, really jumps around in terms of price. There are really modest units catering to DePaul students for $2,200 a month, all the way up to extreme luxury retirement places near the park. But an average two bed would probably set you back about $3,200 a month. So, if you were moving to Lincoln Park with a roommate, spending $1,600 a month on rent, working downtown, making $70,000 a year, that's less than 28% of your income. And in this part of the city in 2024, that's not crazy at all. So, this answers the question of how both yuppies and rich young families can both live here, but it doesn't answer the question why the neighborhood developed in this way. And I actually don't know the answer to that. If you have any knowledge on this, please drop it in the comments. But I always thought it was very strange that the neighborhood has essentially two identities simultaneously. It's for young families with seven figures to burn and college kids slash 25-year-old Big Ten grads looking to party. This is part of what I find so fascinating about Chicago and cities in general. In the small town where I grew up, when developers wanted to build more homes, they'd just buy up land on the outskirts of town, away from anyone that couldn't afford to buy a brand new house. And as a result of single use zoning and how neighborhoods were developed, you basically ended up living next to people that were somewhat similar to you in a lot of respects. And probably a lot of the people buying the $1 million homes find college students and yuppies kind of annoying, but I personally find life a lot more interesting when I can interact with a variety of people every day. With that being said, I don't want this to come across as me saying Lincoln Park is extremely diverse outside of the economic discussion, because it's not. Chicago does have a lot of very siloed neighborhoods, which is a whole different discussion. What I am saying is that Chicago, simply by allowing for homes and apartments to be built in relatively close proximity, invites people in different stages of life to live close by, which I think makes life a lot more interesting. Anyway, thanks for watching.